The pay-for-play debate continues to intensify this week. The amount of attention, magnification, all around just focus on this debate has grown up in a massive way. And I think, not surprisingly, much of it has been relatively unintelligent in terms of its discussion, because you have people lining up on one side saying, pay the players, and you have people lining up on the other side saying, don't pay the players. And they just kind of yell at each other, and what's missed is all the complexity, nuance, and details that would be involved in the event players start to be paid. So I want to have a more intelligent discussion about pay for play here in hour 2 as this story continues to blow up. Now, in hour 3, we got John Morosi live down in Houston as he gets ready for the Astros to begin their World Series defense. We'll have him. And also in hour 3, we'll talk with Dr. David Chow about the latest in the injury situation in the NFL. But in this segment of the show, I'm going to open up the phone lines, 877-996-6369. And what I'm requesting and what I'm asking for, all 50 states, you guys listening out there as you start off your morning, I want to have the most intelligent discussion about pay for play that exists anywhere in the world of sports media. I want to make you guys smarter. I also want to make myself smarter. Let's talk. So here's what I would say. I love using Zion Williamson as an example, and I'm going to get to him in a minute. But first, I'm going to tell you exactly what I would do. I believe there is extreme value in a college education while you're also continuing to pursue your potential professional career as an athlete. I think that's important and valuable because there are a lot of guys out there, and I say guys because that's where the real economic value is. Most of the time, the guys who are making money in athletics are men, and most of the men that are making big money in athletics are playing 3 sports in college really at a high level. They're playing basketball, they're playing football, they're playing baseball, a little bit of hockey, but not for most of the country. That is where most of the people are making most of the money in athletics in this country. Now, there are also some college golfers, and there are also certainly some college tennis players. There are a lot of different people who go to college, play a sport, and end up making substantial money down the road. But most of them are coming out of team sports by and large as a totality. And if you remember at all, a lot of you out there listening, huge percentage of our audience is male. But even if you aren't a man, you certainly will remember what teenage boys were like. Teenage boys are the stupidest people who have ever existed in the history of our planet. There is nothing dumber that has ever existed in this country than a 14, 15, 16, and 17-year-old boy, right? And I'm not saying we get a lot smarter when we get to be 18, 19, and 20, but there has never been a dumber human than a 14, 15, 16, and 17-year-old boy, right? It's 100% true. I've been one. A lot of you out there listening have been one. You think stupid things. You have a belief that you are effectively immortal. You take insanely dumb risks. You are just, in general, all of those things are true, yet you think you are the most awesome, you are the coolest, you are the most plugged in dude that has ever existed. And by the way, there's a lot of 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old boys who are driving into school right now listening to me, and they're shaking their head saying, you have no idea what you're talking about. I'm the baddest-ass person that's ever existed on this planet. You are an imbecile. You aren't smart enough to know how dumb you are, but you are an imbecile. You have way more confidence than your talents reflect. You are going to take risks that are far in excess of what you should be doing. As I have said for a long time, and this terrifies me as the father of 3 boys, there has never been a woman whose final word, 2 words of her life were watch this. There are tons of men, boys as well, out there whose final 2 words before they died were watch this. You're going to try to do something, right? Watch what I'm going to do with this firework. Watch what I'm going to do on this jet ski. Watch this. Guys trying to show off and do stupid stuff, oftentimes to impress girls or to impress other guys their own age. There's a reason why Jackass only starred men. It's because we are very oftentimes idiots. I bring that up for this reason. That thought process translates into athletics in a big way. Because every man on some level who is listening to this show thought he was going to be a professional athlete at some point in time. And then most of you, there's a few professional athletes who are listening to this right now, but most of you got slapped in the face with the cold, hard dash of reality. Maybe you got dunked on in a high school basketball game and realized, you know what? That guy's a lot better than me. Maybe you got trucked in a high school football game by a guy who was going to college and you were like, you know what? I'm probably not going to be able to tackle a lot of dudes like this. Maybe you got beat playing soccer, you reached, somebody went right past you, scored an easy goal, and you thought to yourself, yeah, probably not going to be on the World Cup team. Everybody comes face to face with their athletic mortality at some point. Some people get to play until they're 42, like Tom Brady. Most people hang up the jersey 16, 17, 18 years old. You realize suddenly that you're not going to be a pro athlete. Some of you get drafted into the major leagues like Joel Klatt. We talked about this. You think you're going to be a Major League Baseball player. Boom, you get realize you can't hit the curve, and you're not necessarily as good as you anticipated that you were going to be, and you end up moving in a different direction. It's hard to become a professional athlete. The people who most likely believe that they are going to be professional athletes are the kids who are signing major college scholarship offers. Every single kid who entered into a Big Five college as a freshman this year really believes that he's going to play in the NFL. Every single college basketball player who is going to a major conference school to play basketball on some level believes he's going to play in the NBA. Same thing, Major League Baseball. All of these guys are of the belief that their talents are significant enough that they are going to be professional athletes. What many of them are going to realize during their freshman year is that they can be good college players, but that the difference between being a good college player and being a professional athlete is massive, and it's hard to take that next step, okay? So, with that in mind, I believe we are vastly underselling the value of using our colleges as a laboratory to allow a kid to simultaneously pursue his athletic endeavors while also taking care of his academic work. We are allowing kids to pursue athletics with the huge safety net of academics beneath them. I think that's a good thing. Who does that the best? College baseball. If I right now were the grand czar of sports in American life, what I would say is this. Every sport is going to have the exact same early entry rules as Major League Baseball does. If you're not familiar with the way Major League Baseball is set up, I think they have the perfect system. When you are a high school senior, you can be drafted and put your name in to be drafted by a team. If you are drafted, you can then negotiate at 18 years old and decide whether or not you are going to make enough money to go immediately be a professional in the minor leagues, or you can decide to go to college. If you sign a college scholarship, then you are committing to 3 years of college before you then can re-enter the draft and decide whether or not to leave and go then join the minor leagues. So you get 3 full years on a college campus, or you decide I'm ready to go the pro route and I'm never going to enter the college campus at all. That to me is the system that should exist for everyone. We give them an option. If you're at 18 and you need to start making money immediately, then boom, you go off to the pros. If you are 18 and you realize, you know what, I want to continue to get better at my craft and I want to advance my brand in conjunction with college athletics, then you do that. And by the way, if there is somebody out there who is so good that they want to get a waiver to leave early as opposed to waiting for 3 years because they're so dominant and they're so ready to go, we can give a waiver and let you go pro earlier if we're guaranteed that you're going to be a first-round pick. I think that's a perfect system. That is the Clay Travis system for how to integrate college perfectly with professional athletics. What I see very often is guys not realizing what the value is of going to college over and above the scholarship, and this is where Zion comes in, and I think becomes a perfect laboratory example of the impact of college athletics. If Zion Williamson at 18 had elected to go pro and he goes and plays for a G League team, do you know how many people would know Zion Williamson who are listening to my radio show right now? A pinprick. Do you know why? Because nobody cares about the G League. Nobody follows those teams. Nobody watches them on television. Nobody cares. Your brand is, I am a professional, but you make like $55,000 a year as a professional, but all you have to do is play basketball. You are a pro waiting one day to be in the NBA, hopefully. That's the dream of everybody in the G League. Everybody in America knows Duke basketball. When Zion Williamson went to play for Duke, initially, his brand immediately exploded because he had Duke on the front of his chest. And when you have Duke on the front of your chest, everybody pays more attention to you than they would if you didn't have Duke on the front of your chest. So Zion, by putting on that Duke jersey, was able to use the brand of Duke basketball to elevate his own brand. And what happens? Initially, people look at the name on the front of your jersey. Oh, he's with Duke. And then they start to realize, wait a minute, who's this guy? I need to know who he is. And they start paying attention to the name on the back of your jersey. The jersey becomes a perfect metaphor for the growth of your brand. By aligning yourself with a big brand, Duke, and by the way, it doesn't just have to be Duke. It can be Kentucky. It can be Indiana back in the day. It can be North Carolina. Hell, it could be Tennessee right now. Whoever is good in college basketball, Michigan back in the day. If you put that jersey on, you are aligning yourself with a massive brand of people who initially, regionally, are going to love you just because you're putting on their jersey. And then if you're good, the nation starts to pay attention and they say, hey, I got to watch this new guy, this Duke guy, Zion Williamson. And it moves from the brand on the front of your jersey to growing the brand on the back of your jersey. If Zion had gone pro and gone straight into the G League, as was his right, he would have made a fraction of the money in his guaranteed shoe deal that he did by going to Duke. So people out there who are arguing, oh, all Zion got was a scholarship for 1 year and Duke made a lot more money off of him than he made off of them, they're idiots. I'm a capitalist. I want everybody to make as much money as possible. The best decision that Zion Williamson could have made from a capitalistic perspective was turning down $55,000 to go pro in the G League and immediately instead maybe making $100 million or more for himself by just playing at Duke and turning himself into a major national brand such that Nike signed him to the biggest shoe contract in the history of sports. Zion could have gone to the G League or go to Israel or go to Australia or go to China and been a pro for a year, and he probably would have cost himself $100 million. Now, if he goes to the NBA and he's not good, he's still locked in all of that money, almost guaranteed because he went to Duke. If he goes to the NBA and he's good, well, eventually he's going to make big money anyway, and it wouldn't have mattered how his career started. But investing in yourself by going to a big brand in college, irrespective of whether you're investing in your mind, which I hope he did while he was on the Duke campus, is invaluable. And I think many people are missing this as an integral part of the value that is unlocked by going to college. And that's the argument that I believe Tim Tebow tried to make that a lot of people missed. By aligning yourself with a big brand like Tim Tebow did at Florida. Initially, Florida Gator fans were rooting for Tim Tebow because he had the word Florida on the front of his jersey. As soon as he turned into a star, they started rooting for the name on the back of the jersey too. And those fans are fans for you for life. And so I think we're undervaluing the overall value if you don't contemplate what happened. And again, the analogy that I used at the end of hour one is a good one. You know, more people watched Zion play for Duke in his freshman year than watched DeAndre Ayton play for the Phoenix Suns in his rookie year in the NBA. Zion became a bigger brand playing for Duke than DeAndre Ayton did playing for the Phoenix Suns. And this is even more true, by the way, if you factor in that when you enter the NBA, if you're a top draft pick, you're probably going to be on a crappy team, and it's going to take you a couple of years to build up your brand. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen. Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Kevin Garnett, Tracy McGrady, just to name a few, all went straight to the league from high school, and eventually developed their brands and became superstars, global icons, because they were successful in the NBA. But Zion is entering the NBA, already a global icon, and he hasn't even made anything happen in his NBA career yet. So when people say, oh, all Zion got was a scholarship, it's a very short-sighted way of thinking about what Zion actually unlocked. If his shoe doesn't explode on national television with everybody watching, nobody sees it. If it happens in the G League, there's probably some dude who's really good in the G League that shoe exploded and 3,000 people watched it on YouTube. Zion Williamson became a global icon because he went to college at Duke. He is a perfect example of why it might make sense to go to college even if you could go directly to the NBA. I want to open up the phone lines, and one of the problems here is people are thinking in terms of $10,000 instead of thinking in terms of $10 million. One of the challenges that many people have is we talk a lot about dreams in this country. We talk a lot about aspirations. Oftentimes, people dream too small. You hear people criticize for dreaming too big. What I see a lot of times is people dreaming too small. They don't want to take a risk. They're like, oh, I want this middle management job that'll pay me $48,000 a year. That's what I aspire. I hope to one day be able to afford a Toyota Corolla. All right, that's fine. If you're happy, pursue and chase whatever you are to be happy. But to me, in order to really think big, you have to expand your educational understanding. And that's what college can do. And so what I see a lot of people focused on right now with this pay-to-play thing is they're like, oh, well, they should give the college athletes money. Well, it ain't going to be life-changing money. I'm not saying that getting $40,000 is a bad thing, but there are a lot of people out there nodding their head. They're like, I make $40,000 now. Do you know what I have left at the end of the year? Negative $10,000. $40,000 in college is not going to change anybody's life. You know what's going to change somebody's life? $4 million, $40 million, $400 million. Don't focus on the pennies and miss the dollars. And I think a lot of people in this country focus on the pennies and they don't think about the dollars. They're not investing in their future. Zion invested in his future by going to Duke. You can legitimately argue that Zion made in 1 year playing basketball for Duke $20, $30, $40, $50 million in brand value for him. Just think about what his shoe contract would have been if he had played in the G League for a year compared to what it is having gone to Duke. Duke helped to unlock the value for Zion. And by the way, it doesn't just have to be Duke. Again, it could be a lot of different college programs as long as he was getting a lot of attention for playing for them. And wedding your brand to another big brand is oftentimes the way to put yourself into the stratosphere. It's not just sports, by the way. Why do so many musicians work together to make music? One, maybe it's because the music is good. Two, it's because they're combining two big brands together to try to create a much bigger overall brand. And that's what Zion did with Duke. Now, I want to open up phone lines because I think a lot of people are missing this. I think a lot of people are reaching for dimes when they should be trying to think about $100 bills. And it's great if you make a little bit more money in college, but you don't want to blow up the system in college that's creating guys worth hundreds of millions of dollars so you can create guys who make $10,000 more. Something to think about. Open phone lines, 877-996-6369. But I think the Zion Williamson example is a great one that the NCAA could do a good job of telling. The tangible dollars that Zion got to play at Duke, he really technically only got a scholarship. The reality is he made tens of millions of dollars for himself by playing college basketball for a year that he wouldn't have gotten if he had gone straight to go play in the G League, as would have been his right. He could have made $50,000 playing in the G League Instead, he made tens of millions of dollars more that he had to wait a year to unlock by playing at Duke. That's the very definition of investing in yourself. That's frankly why you go to college. Most people go to college and spend money to go to college, not because it's a great deal while they're in college to be spending money. It sucks to start off in debt. Trust me, I started off in debt coming out of law school. Substantial debt, more than most people's debt when they come out of college. But the investment in my own education that I got for law school has paid off for itself in spades the rest of my life. You go to college not for the immediate financial return that you're going to get paying out tens of thousands of dollars for that education, but for the investment in your own mind, in your own self, and that's exactly what Zion did. Loaded lines, Dub. Pop them up in the order that you think makes the most sense. Let's roll.
All right, let's go to Fred in West Virginia.
Fred, what you got for me?
Hey, Clay, man, you were right on it with the baseball analogy, with the Zion analogy. I love what you're saying, but I'm on the fence with some things because I would like to see the guys be able to set up, if you will, the lemonade stand and be able to reap the benefits of making, a couple bucks for their autographs, so on and so forth. We're out here buying jerseys. We're buying the games with their likenesses on them, and they don't get anything for them.
Yeah,
like you said with Zion, because of where he went and because of his likeness, he has now unlocked all of his full potential and his ability to get the shoe deals and get the big contracts. But then, even once they're in the professional league, they're still, they go, let's look at tonight's offensive lineup, and it's I'm whatever player from whatever college, and the colleges are still reaping those same benefits.
Yeah, thanks for the call.
Those games.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to move through quickly. I'm not opposed to people being able to sell their autograph. I'm just saying if you're Zion Williamson or you're a player who's got real value, whatever $20,000 you make off signing autographs at a local Durham mall is a pinprick of the value that you're unlocking for your brand overall. The only real guys that have a focus on getting paid in college are guys who are going to be good in college but never have any pro career at all. Then $40,000 or $50,000 to them might matter, but ultimately they're still going to have to go pro, as the NCAA slogan goes, in something other than sports. So the guys who are actually good, which is the ones who have real economic value, their brand value is not getting talked about at all as part of this pay-for-play debate. Again, Zion going to Duke versus the G League made him tens of millions of dollars. That's real money that he is able to unlock as soon as he leaves Duke. It's as if he has put himself an annuity in place that suddenly, the minute that he leaves Duke, he's able to take advantage of. The reality is, going to Duke made Zion Williamson in 1 year potentially $50 million more in a shoe contract than he would have made if he had gone to the G League. He performed so well and grew such a national brand for himself that Nike gave him more money than they've ever given anybody coming out of college before to start their NBA career. You have to give credit to the college system for some of that, because Zion could have gone to Israel and played pro there. He could have gone to Australia. He could have gone to China. He could have played G League, and he could have made more money by going pro immediately in that particular year, but he would have been taking dimes instead of stacks of hundreds, because by investing in himself and going to Duke, he unlocked tens of millions of dollars in additional value. Who's up next?
We got Adam in Ohio.
Adam, what's up?
Hey, good morning, OUTKICK. Clay, I'm totally with you on your solution with the 3-year rule and how baseball does it.
Yeah,
I think it makes a lot of sense in basketball and baseball, but where I've really, I guess came to a hiccup in it is, what does that look like for football? Does then the sport get some type of developmental league, or
yeah,
how do you think that?
It's a good question. One, the XFL is going to allow 18-year-olds to play pro football if they want to. If you are such a good player that you believe you're eligible and able to go play pro football out of high school at 18 years old, then you have that pathway. You can go to the XFL and make $100,000 a year to play football if they believe that you are worthy of being drafted at 18 years old. If not, go to college. And some people say, well, an 18-year-old is not ready to play pro football. I don't know necessarily that that's true. I think you make that choice or not yourself. People say, well, an 18-year-old, there's no way that an 18-year-old should play football with grown men. Well, we let 18-year-olds get machine guns and get shot at all over this country with grown men. It's funny to me, people are like, oh, we can't let an 18-year-old play pro football. Do these same people have an issue with 18-year-olds joining the military and walking around getting shot at a couple of months after basic training in a foreign country? Which do you think is more difficult, getting your ass whipped on a football field by men who are older than you, or getting shot at by men who are older than you and sometimes younger than you walking around in a foreign country? I'm sorry, once you reach the age of 18, for better or worse, you have the right to make decisions about your future. Hopefully you'll make good decisions. Hopefully you have good people around you to help consult with you. But there is a pathway at 18 years old to make immediate money playing football now. It's called the XFL. You can do it. You can go straight from a high school football field into the XFL and make six figures a year playing football. If you want to go in that option, you can do it. And then go to the NFL after a couple of years through the XFL route. Or you can go play college football. I think your brand value is going to be a lot more powerful as a football player if you go and play in college first, because I think a lot more people are going to be watching college football games than are going to be watching XFL games. Maybe I'm wrong. You certainly have the right to make that choice. But as long as you have that opportunity to make that choice, you're basically saying, I'll take less money to play college football right now because I believe I'm going to eventually unlock much more when I get to the leagues than I would by immediately going pro at 18. You're investing in yourself just like your average college kid is. Your average college kid doesn't have to go to college. You can come out at 18 years old and go get a job, and you'll make more money initially than the 18, 19, 20, and 21-year-old will. You go out and work wherever, and lots of people do it. And you're making $20,000 at 18 years old, and somebody else is spending $20,000. You're up 40 grand on them. And that first couple of years, you look pretty good. But you know what happens? Like the tortoise and the hare. The person who goes to college starts off slower, ends up on average higher than the person who doesn't go to college. But you don't have to go. You can start making money immediately. Who's up next?
We got Tommy in Florida.
Tommy, what you got for me?
Hey, man, awesome show. First of all, you got to add something to the JUCO or to the baseball thing of the way they do the draft. If you go to a junior college, you can actually get drafted after your freshman year and then again after your sophomore year. And if you still don't like your draft status, you can then go to a four-year college and then get drafted after your junior year. So
that's a good point, too. The point is, getting options is always a good thing to me. I love that a high school baseball player can hear from professional scouts and teams, hey, we think you're a fourth rounder right now and you're worth X dollars if you want to start playing for us at 18 years old. And if you don't, go to college, continue to develop your baseball skills, and in 3 years, you get an opportunity. Now, you can also go to junior college. I think in general, and I'm not trying to take shots at junior college. I think in general, the amount of education that you're getting at a junior college is much less than the amount of education you'd be getting at a traditional 4-year college. But it's good to have options. I am a capitalist. I believe that choice and allowing people to make choices in their life is good. That's part of the choice that capitalism provides us. Good call, good points. Who's up next?
All right, we got Everett in Nashville.
Everett, what you got for me, my man?
Hey, how you doing, Clay?
Excellent.
I was just calling to say that I don't see anything wrong with payers getting paid as long as the schools are involved. I don't think that they should necessarily be getting a stipend, but say some like mattress person wants to put, say, Jawan Jennings or somebody in a commercial to promote their business. I don't see anything wrong with doing something like that.
That's fine. I appreciate the call. Again, that's dimes, right? Like, I'm trying to tell people to think about stacks of cash. If I'm an athlete, I want stacks of cash. I want, just like I do for my business, I don't want money that allows me to live for the next 6 months in a little bit better apartment if I have great talent. I want stacks of cash to the ceiling that guarantee that I never have to work again if I get hurt and that my family's taken care of for generations to come. That's my focus. If I am looking, I'm not trying to look at the pennies on the dollar that I could potentially make, and I'm not trying to take a shot at it, but like doing an ad for a local mattress company. That's fine. I'm thinking about trying to make millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, and that's investing in yourself in the brand of the school that you are joining.
All right, we got Jason in D.C.
Jason, fire away.
Hey, what's going on, man? So real quick, I know I'm going to sound like a moralist and an idealist on this one, but just bear with me. So I do a lot of schools, and I'm constantly in front of young minority males, and they're always saying, we want to go play sports. And so I'm constantly talking to them like, hey, what's your backup plan? What's your backup plan? I personally feel like if they 18 and they already getting bread, like that's going to completely strip them of focusing on anything else. And I know that the NCAA already focuses on sports, and they really discard you after you finish. But I think that's only going to add to the situation. And for my communities, I don't think that's a good thing at all.
So you like the idea of everybody going to college instead of going straight to the league?
I am from the D.C. area. I went to college. I got 2 degrees. I come from a neighborhood where that don't happen.
Yep.
And it's dope when I can go back to my neighborhood and be like, yo, Slim, like, you can do this. I mean, you can play sports as well, but if it don't pop off, what's your backup? How you going to use your mind? I feel like when you're 18 and you already getting that bread, now when you're in high school, you're not even thinking about college. You just think about, man, I can go to college, wild out, get my money, and keep it moving. I just think that set us back, man.
Yeah, I appreciate the call. Look, I think one of the challenges in general, that's what I said in earlier part of hour 2. I said one of the challenges that we face as a society is everybody wants the microwave generation. They want everything instantaneously. And my concern is sometimes you're grabbing dimes to step over dollars. And you're not recognizing that stack of cash that is out there on the horizon because you're so worried about trying to gobble up nickels, dimes, and quarters. And if you gobble up the nickels, dimes, and quarters, you might miss the big stack of cash out there because you don't have the thought process to get to that horizon where the dollars really are. Who's up next?
We got Bryant in North Carolina.
What's up, Brian?
Hey, Clay, thanks for taking my call. I just want to make 2 quick points. One, I don't think you mentioned this, but what the NCAA does now is purely a socialist model by trying to make everyone equal, whether their talents are greater or less.
Right.
Whereas, like, what you're talking about is, like, purely libertarian capitalism of, let people grow and make accomplishments and earn money and do what they can based on their talents. Second point is, and I'll get off and listen to your response, do you think that the NCAA will try to backdoor and shut down like the big, Adidas and Nike and the big players in the sports as far as they'll come in on backdoor and say, no, you can't make deals with these players and stuff, even though it's legal, because we'll cut you out of XYZ. That's just kind of something I was thinking about as well. Thanks
the challenge I would say with sneakers in general is right now in college, the sneaker companies pay the schools. So like Nike is a Duke school, right? Like Duke has Nike product. If every single player started getting their own shoe deal, then the school wouldn't get that money. And the players wouldn't get that much money either. But you would have a conflict where, let's say, Adidas comes in and they try and hire Zion and give him a shoe deal at 18, and it's in conflict with the Nike deal. Eventually they would say, we're not going to pay the school anymore, which benefits everybody. You're right about the socialistic model, but that's because of Title IX. Title IX requires that male scholarships and female scholarships on a college campus be roughly equal as to the overall enrollment of the student body. Well, we know that from a market-based capitalism perspective, only male athletes have value on a college campus, with the possible exception of UConn women basketball and maybe Baylor and maybe the University of Tennessee historically are really good women's basketball programs, and they might possibly make a little bit of money. But that's the challenge, is you have a socialistic system in conflict with a market-based economy. football players and men's basketball players have value. Maybe a little bit of men's college baseball players growing somewhat, but by and large, that's it. Those are the only guys that are being underpaid relative to their talents. I appreciate all this. This is a conversation we need to keep having. When we come back, we're going down to Houston, though, to be joined by John Morosi, and then Dr. David Chow is going to be with us. I appreciate all the conversation. Great calls, great interaction. You can find me on Twitter at Clay Travis. Let me know your opinion there if you didn't get to share it on the radio.